Hi, my name is Kelli Jones, and I'm a teacher consultant with the Arizona Geographic Alliance. Today we'll be looking at the lesson Mansa Musa, the Lion of Mali. This lesson is designed for 6th grade, but also has standards in high school. This lesson will take approximately 2 class periods. Again, depending on your time, this is looking at blocked periods of 85 minutes. So if you have 50 or 55-minute classes, it might take 3 sessions. So often students are presented with information of European and North American locations, but as civilizations were developing, it's also important to recognize that they were developing in other places. In this lesson, students will receive a glimpse of the Mali Kingdom in Africa and one of its leaders, Mansa Musa. The purpose of this lesson is for students to gain a better understanding of how human and physical geography has been a determinant in the success of many early civilizations. In this lesson, the medieval African kingdom of Mali in particular is examined and seen through the eyes of Mansa Musa, one of their great lion kings. So materials for this lesson, one thing you will need is Mansa Musa, the Lion of Mali book by Kiefer Burns, and the ISBN is provided later, and we'll be looking at that later in this lesson as well. A sample lion picture, student vocabulary cards which are included, the Mansa Musa Reading Organizer worksheet, a 14th century Mali map, a Mali matchup worksheet and flashcards, and an atlas of this region. Many of you may be able to find this in your textbook. If not, you may be able to find it in an atlas or maybe print it offline. And then some sort of colored pencils or markers. Now, most of this is provided within the lesson if you click on the link. The objectives of this lesson are for the students to be able to analyze the physical region of Mali, which is in the Western Sahara region of Africa, examine how human interactions through trade and travel shaped the culture of the Mali Kingdom, and evaluate how physical and human geography played a role in the development of the Mali Kingdom. So in session 1, what we're going to be looking at is first showing students a picture of a lion, because this image of a lion appears a lot throughout the book and in the culture of Mali. So you want to show them a picture of a lion and ask them what they think of when they see a lion. Maybe brainstorm some words or characteristics of a lion. And then explain to them that they'll hear a story about Mansa Musa, who is nicknamed the Lion of Mali, and see how those connections might be similar to a lion. The next thing you're going to want to do is go over the student vocabulary cards, which are included in the lesson, because you want to build some academic vocabulary that might be necessary to understand the book. Some of these are cultural vocabulary words that the students just haven't been exposed to yet. Next, you will distribute the Mansa Musa Reading Organizer to each student, and you want to go over and clarify the directions. So before you begin reading, you want students to have sort of a guide of what to listen for as you are reading the book to them. So you want to look for things, or they want to be listening for things that relate to Islamic influences, physical features, geographic features, and things like that. So they sort of have a guideline of what to look for as you begin reading. The next step for this class period is to actually read and display the pictures of the story. So here I have a copy of the book, Mansa Musa by Kiefer Burns, and part of it is the rich imagery that is included in this. So you want to be able to show students the images that are within the book as you are reading. So this can be done if you have a dot cam. You might scan them into a PowerPoint. You might walk around and show students the pictures as you're reading it, or whatever method you have. But the pictures are really important to helping students to understand the rich culture of Mali. So we're just going to quickly go through a few of the pages, looking more at the pictures, just so you have a general idea of what the story is about. So the story starts with Can Musa as a young boy in his village, and it talks about the village and how, their community. In this picture alone, you can see it talks about the domestication of animals, the domestication of plants or agriculture. We see an abundance of gold and all the jewelry that the women are wearing. And you see just some basic principles of life in the village of Mali. As the story progresses, Can Musa is actually kidnapped by strangers from the east, who we later find out are Islamic traders. And Can tries to escape, but you'll see that he's actually tied to these traders because there's no way to survive in the desert without them. It's hot, he doesn't have food, he doesn't have water, and so he basically stays with the traders because it's his only chance of survival. But as he stays with them over the years, he actually begins to realize that this is a great experience because instead of being in his village, he can go out and explore the world and find the keys to successful civilizations. And one of the places he goes is Egypt, which he has heard many great stories in his village about. And he determines that he wants to bring things back to his village so that people all over the world will one day remember Mali the way they remember Egypt. And so the story ends, and again, this is, a very abbreviated version of the story, but the story ends with Ken Musa returning to his village, telling them about all the experiences, all the places he's traveled, telling them about the Islamic religion, which he has learned about, and eventually becoming king of the Mali kingdom. And here we are today, in 2012, learning about his kingdom because he went out and he explored the riches that the world had to offer and brought those back to his country. So as you're going to close up, once you've finished reading, I would have students pair share the ideas that they heard from the book because some students might have caught things that others wouldn't. So this can help students to maybe fill in or complete some areas that they may have missed. For session 2, we're going to actually be looking at the physical region of Mali. So we're going to be looking at a map, and the students will list not only elements that are important to that region geographically, but also mapping the journey that actually Ken Musa traveled within the story. So you have some elements of the story along with human and physical elements being mapped. They will use their atlas to fill that in. Once they have finished that, you're going to hand out to them the Mali matchup worksheet. So this is using direct lines or sentences from the story to help them learn a little bit more about the Mali culture. Now, one thing that I've included in this lesson are Mali matchup flashcards. And what these are in essence are the answers to the Mali matchup worksheet. Because students can come up with such an array of answers when given an open-ended question, for example, why did the women of Mali wear gold jewelry? If you left that as an open-ended question, they may answer it because it made them look beautiful, because they wanted to show off their wealth, because it looked nice, it was given to them as a gift. There could be a lot of different answers. So using the Mali matchup flashcards actually gives them a specific reason that you're wanting them to identify with. And the reason is because there's an abundance of gold. And because there was an abundance of gold, it was common for women to wear the jewelry. And so that's one of the answers within this flashcard. So it's almost like you're guiding them to the answer, but they need to use, their own knowledge and their own background to be able to identify which answer goes with which question. And again, all of these sentences come directly out of the book. So this book is really rich in human and cultural geography. As a closure, you can just have students, exchange papers, go over them, see if all of their answers match up, and then collect those. So for assessment, you're going to be assessing the Mansa Musa Reader Organizer, which students are completing as you're reading the story. You're also looking at the 14th century Mali map. You want to make sure that students are correctly identifying and labeling the features listed in the map legend. And then the Mali matchup worksheet. Of course, you want to make sure that students have correctly identified the answer with the correct quote. And again, 80% is considered mastery. You may have different levels of mastery. So for extensions, you can tie this lesson to the development of the other medieval kingdoms that are listed in the state standards. So you can look at Ghana and Songhai, two medieval kingdoms that developed before and after the Kingdom of Mali, and just develop those. You can write a literary response to the book or some type of a book report to Mansa Musa, the Lion of Mali. And you can use the scale on the map to determine actual distances that were traveled, for example, by Ken Musa. There's also a great National Geographic Expeditions lesson, and I believe that's listed in the sources. And this is actually navigating the Niger River, which is the river that runs through the Mali Kingdom. It is referred to in the book, and it's a great online expedition if you have access to a computer lab, or you can send it home as homework with students. You can listen to music of Mali, and there's an example. Putumayo presents Mali, so just maybe creating the mood, maybe while they're working on the map or even the matching flashcards. You can discuss the abundant versus scarce resources. What does that mean? Think about what sources were abundant and scarce in Mali, and then maybe compare those to resources that are abundant and scarce in Arizona. Another idea would be to write a narrative, have students write a narrative about life in present-day Arizona from the perspective of a traveler. So be sure to consider the story Mansa Musa and how the traveler met a native of the area who helped him reveal geographic features. So if you were hosting a traveler to the state of Arizona, what types of things would you want to reveal about your state and your culture that would be important for that traveler to take back and spread the word about Arizona? The sources that I used for this lesson, some of the printed sources, of course, the book, the Mansa Musa Line of Mali. This is really critical in making your lesson a success. So I would suggest, especially if you're teaching the 6th grade and you will be teaching the 6th grade for a while, I would suggest purchasing your own copy. Otherwise, seeing if your school library can add that to their collection, because again, it is necessary for a successful lesson. Our world history book that we used in 6th grade, Journey Across Time, actually has maps of Mali and Ghana and Songhai, the medieval African kingdoms. So that type of a textbook or another classroom textbook that might have information about these kingdoms are good. And then I also have some online resources, including that National Geographic link to the expedition of the Niger River. So that is the end of the Mansa Musa Lion of Mali lesson. I hope that you can use it in your classroom.